Is Jason gonna say hello?
No.
Okay.
I'm rocking out.
All right. This rock out moment brought to you by Sean Walker.
Exactly. Welcome to Vagabond Nerds, where we like big butts and cannot lie despite the denial of you other brothers. Today's travesty against nerdkind will be brought to you by Titan Comics. Go visit Jeremy over at titancomics.com, 214-350-4420. Or you can visit him in person at 31284 Slane, Suite 250 in Dallas, Texas, 75234. He has comics, games,
What else?
statues, and all your finest geeky accoutrement. Now, on with the show, such as it were.
We had Snowmageddon 1.5 this week, didn't we, gentlemen?
No.
It was just cold.
Oh my God.
Icy.
It wasn't
It was icy.
Snowmageddon.
It was icy. I got
icy.
video of the FedEx guy though trying to walk up the sidewalk, doing the whole
That poor guy,
flailing
man.
arms.
Yeah.
You know, you could almost hear the sound, the whoop, 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 as he was trying to catch his, grip. It was not cool. I opened it up. I was like, "Man, you okay?" He was like, "I didn't fall. I'm all right." Which would have been fine, except as he was walking off, one more time, and I'm like, "Dude, you just stepped on the same thing."
He's got to. Where's he gonna? He's got to walk back somehow, Ray. It's not like things, and that's the thing. It's not like it changed on the way back or anything.
There were dry parts of the sidewalk that he could have gone. He chose the middle.
Okay.
So that's all I'm saying.
Fair enough, I guess. Fair enough.
So, but good on him for
grass.
being out there and doing those deliveries, because
Yeah.
I know I could. I would have fallen.
Mm-mm.
Kudos to him for flailing upwards, if you will. So he never went down.
Fall
Good for
up.
him.
Don't
Good for
fall
him.
down. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. He fell up. He for sure fell up.
Fair enough.
Gentlemen, it's been a couple weeks. How's everyone?
Well, this is actually the first time that we've had two shows back to back where all three of us were on.
In a while.
That's true.
Yes, absolutely correct with that assessment, sir. It's nice. It's nice to be, regular, as people might say.
Well, we haven't eaten our oats. No.
You got to get on that, man.
No.
You got to get on that. You got to get on the oats,
Got to
dude.
keep that fiber-heavy diet at our age.
Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Because we're getting old.
So nothing's happened in 2 weeks as far as entertainment's concerned, right?
Not a damn thing.
Since we're so on top of things, so I just watched Black Panther the other day.
The first one?
The second one.
Okay. So Wakanda Forever. Black Panther's not in the second one.
Just watched Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I saw it the first time, and I was a little critical about it. I saw it a second time because I thought I need to give this a second chance. And I will say this: much better on the second watch, oddly, than the first watch. I can see that. I think it grew a little bit on me, but I do understand where Genesis was coming from, because I remember last time when we had the review that we talked about, it was Gnome and me and Genesis, and I think the thing that Genesis mentioned was the cuts, the edits were very hard, and it didn't flow, and I still think that that's a very, very good assessment of that film, is that it just didn't flow. I think if it had flowed better, it would have been much more acceptable. I completely reject the premise, as of the idea that just because somebody made a vibranium detector and found it and used it in the ocean, that Namor all of a sudden is like, we're going to burn the world. That's still really, that is not, like Murtaugh says in The Lethal Weapon, that's real effing thin. It's real effing thin.
Well, again, when Ray and I were,
Sorry.
had kudos for it, I would like to point out at no point did we ever praise the story or the plot or the editing.
By the way, the actors in it still great job. They did a great job, and I will say that the actress who plays Shuri, and I can't remember her name all of a sudden. I was looking her up yesterday.
Is Letitia Wright?
Yeah,
something like that.
Look at me remembering names.
She did a phenomenal job, and I really actually do think that she can carry. I do think she could carry this franchise. Having seen her and seen this role, I do think she can do a decent job as Black Panther, and I think she would be just fine leading that role. I don't know. I again, I've seen it twice now, and the second time made it more like it was more not believable, but just acceptable, and also like real in a sense. It was more convincing the second time through. My first reaction, I was probably still, critical from the review we had here, since I hadn't even seen the film yet. So
it was again, nothing as far as the characters, the actors themselves. No insult to them. The original, the original storyline was supposed to be a father-son story, with Chadwick, and about him not being there for 5 years because he was, snapped away,
blipped,
which apparently has now become Ant-Man and Quantumania. So,
pretty much. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see any story that would have, come after the passing of Chadwick, but it felt disjointed. You could tell where there were storylines that were lifted from the original plot line that were just kind of thrown in.
Clearly feel the rewrite.
Yeah.
You could clearly feel that rewrite. They didn't do, I don't think the writing was good enough to hide what they had to rewrite and pull in from other pieces. I mean, but of course, how could you, losing your lead actor. And in such a tragic, it's a shitty, tragic fashion, losing him in all of that. You've written all this great stuff and you don't want to scrap it.
Right.
But yeah, it was.
Well, and this is actually something I've talked about with Superman Returns with Brendan Routh. Right. Everyone just dumps on that movie. I like it, but I understand what it is. It was the sacrifice to, that sort of had to be made on the public altar to Christopher Reeves. Right. He was such a beloved character and actor, and he portrayed it so well that if you didn't do something that was just a tribute to him and his Superman, which is what Superman Returns is,
the problem
couldn't go on, you couldn't move forward with the character. And I think that's kind of the problem, is this movie had to be that sort of sacrifice to Chadwick Boseman's memory.
I don't agree with that, though, because, going back to your Superman Returns analogy, Smallville had already been out for
Yeah, I don't care. So, anyway.
You suck.
I legit thought he actually lost connection for a second there. I really did.
You suck. I don't think that's it. I think you could have been.
I liked Superman Returns. I liked that movie. I remember seeing it in the theater, going, I enjoyed it. What I thought was interesting about that movie was when I was finished watching it, I didn't understand why I still enjoy. Like, I left the theater going, I enjoyed that, but I was like, but why? That was my problem. I was like, why did I enjoy that? Because it was good, and Ralph did such a good job as Superman. And I walked out and I was like, why did I like that? There was no like little to no action. Little to no plot line. It was a relationship movie about how could you have left us for this long, and people going, oh, he's back. What are we going to do about this? It was this very empty sort of scenario. But I think the emotions and the story in that movie was actually more complex than we gave it for at the time, because afterwards, years later, I went, oh yeah, it's about him dealing with the fact that he left and coming back and the feelings that people are feeling with all this, and this, like, it's a very internal movie, which is not easy to do for a lot of actors, and I think it ages well for what it is. I really do.
Oh, I think it's one of the, again, it's what it needed to be, but it's really well done. I really would have liked to have seen more from that universe if we could have gotten beyond Lex Luthor. Although I have heard that the follow-ups weren't going to be beyond, like, it was still always going to be Lex Luthor, and it's like,
well, no, the second one. No, the second one. Did you ever read like the little mini synopsis? It was supposed to be what Singer had in mind before he went completely nuts, along with Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
Was the fact that they were going to introduce some type of chemical that sped the age of his son to adulthood, but then something happened where it causes him to start to form to become the Doomsday device. So you still would have had a Doomsday, and it would be about him fighting his son and whether or not he has to kill him in order for everyone else to live. Like, it was going to be more of a psychological kind of, feat to it. But I don't know. Like, I gotta hand it to the Arrowverse for giving him a proper send off as kind of like that Kingdom Come Superman.
Yeah, when they brought everything in together, they really did. That was fantastic.
Yeah. In fact, his storyline was about the only storyline I kind of appreciated of the whole thing.
Oh yeah, it was the best storyline that they had in that whole crossover. And I loved his costume. They gave us a proper Kingdom Come costume that paid homage to the older films and what they did. And it looked, again, Brandon Routh's Superman is completely underappreciated, and it's, again,
you're not wrong. It is underappreciated. Yeah.
So but moving on.
And I think before we get to like The Last of Us or DC, really quick, this just kind of popped up. It's a rumor right now, but I wouldn't put it past it. So Disney's thinking about buying a new franchise. Anyone want to take a shot at it? Established franchise.
What genre? Sci-fi, superhero,
fantasy?
An established fantasy franchise
that Warner Brothers already has.
Oh, Harry Potter?
Yep. Starting some background rumors of the mouse, looking at buying that. Can they just stop buying stuff?
For a little, yeah.
I mean, the thing is, stop spending your money on those other things. Pump your money into the properties you have and make them better.
Or new stuff.
Or new stuff.
There's an idea.
Or new stuff. Make new shit. Yeah, exactly. Stop rehashing old stuff. I just heard that that 90s show is greenlit for season 2. I gotta say, I'm still really on the fence about it. I am 8. We just finished watching the 8th episode. It's only a 10-episode series. We just finished watching the 8th episode today, and I felt like this episode was the first episode that felt more like it was really where it needed to be. That's 8 episodes. That's a little rough, but I have seen other shows that were like that before as well, where I was like, let me just give this time. Let me just give it time. Parks and Rec was the same way for me. It took like damn near the whole first season for me to get to a place where, and for them to get to a place where I felt the season was good. But I don't know, man. Still, again, that 90s show, it's still built on nostalgia. It's built on that old shit.
I finished it already. Man, I don't want to spoil it for you. I'll put you this way. I'm happy that there's a second season. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
I can't agree with you that the first few episodes are they rely on that 70s show, and I think they kind of had to for a bit to get them over that bridge. But as you said in season or episode 8, you start to kind of see that transition. It's good for it's good for the show that they do that, to make them their own characters, and by that time you're like, oh, I'm now invested in these individuals and no longer care about what happened. As long as they had come out and said this is what's going on with those particular people, it was fine. But the thing with this show is that you're always going to have a part of, or at least, I mean, it's you'd love to say only 4 characters you could see as a kind of reoccurring because of the lineage that they have on the show, and what they mean to the kids on the show. but honestly, I mean, they set it up that they want to check in on the 5 kids from that '70s show, if and when they can. It would be 6, but of course,
right.
Danny Masterson's not on the show as Hyde because of all his legal troubles.
Well, because he's a Scientologist and he's crazy.
Yeah. Ashton Kutcher came out and recently he took a really well-meaned approach, and I'm glad that one of the Hollywood folks actually came out and because we always hear about it like Seth Rogen did with James Franco. Like immediately he was like, nope, don't care about the kid. I don't want to do anything else. Blah blah blah.
Mhm.
And they finally Kutcher finally talked about it. He was like, here's the thing. He goes, I still talk to him. He goes, he is my friend. He goes, but above all, he goes, I don't mean that as a slam to anyone that was involved or anyone who's claiming to be a victim. He goes, because I don't know. He goes, I just know that as his friend, I am hoping that all of these allegations are false, and I hope they continue to play out that way. He goes, but I don't mean any disrespect to those who are coming up against him. It's just that's my friend.
Yeah, you hope for the best, but you also would accept the truth if that is the case. Like and that's how people should be. That's how
he took a real grown-up approach to it. I mean, because I'll tell you right now, like me and Sean, if Jason ever did something, we're disowning him from the get-go, the drop. They don't even have to finish it. They could just say, listen, Jason, and we're like, he's done. Just tell us when.
That's where I see that. No, this is where you and I differ. Again, I'm gonna hold fast. I'm gonna say, we're gonna have to wait and see how true all these true allegations are. But when they all come out,
I'm telling you, he's guilty right now. No, but I think there is a lot of that where they were just so quick to, you're guilty, and going into that mode, like with who was it from Shazam, the was it Sean Levi or whatever?
Levy?
Yeah, Zachary
Levi. Yeah.
Levy. He what were you saying earlier this week, Sean? I think that he came out, or someone came out. And
so he posted a thing online, and I don't remember the tweet. So it's like,
I have it. Since I knew this would, whenever something that obscure, I kind of want to make sure we can all see it.
It was this tweet about Pfizer, and it was the but yeah, do you agree or not that Pfizer is a real danger to the world? And the reason this had come out and he had posted this was based on this story that Pfizer had, I think Pfizer had done something about falsifying or hiding some of its findings. That was the allegation, or that was the possibility. Again, I don't know if there's any truth to any of this because I'm not a researcher and that's not my job. So I let other people do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if there is truth to that, if a company that's going to issue a global wide vaccine hides things and those things are detrimental to the health of humans worldwide, yeah, that's a bad thing. When you phrase it that way and say, do you agree or not agree that they're a danger to the world? That is a loaded, you're saying, okay, they're a danger to the world. Do you agree or do you disagree? And that's the thing. You're coming out and saying it that way. So when he said it that way, it caused a lot of folks to go, oh, anti-vaxxer, oh this, oh that. And I don't know. I think it was a poor choice of words. It was poorly phrased. And it's crazy that for some reason the WB DC Universe actors can't seem to get their shit together, or can't seem to stop stepping in their own shit by creating.
But I don't even know
online.
I don't even know if that's. At what point do we go back to letting people have their opinions, right or wrong? Like I don't care if it's a right or wrong opinion, as long as it's not hurting anybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where I'm going to draw the line. Like if you start having malice or anything that could cause malice, that's a little bit different. But at what point do we say, dude, if that's your opinion, God bless. Like you have your way and everything else.
Well, to Sean's point, and I think that the problem here is we no longer live in an age, to your point, you can have that kind of response if there's nuance in a conversation. We no longer have any room for nuance. It isn't, hey, it looks like Pfizer's done, well, the entire problem is social media to begin with, but it's like, here is a long history of Pfizer doing some really sketchy things. Here's a bunch of news coming out where Pfizer's doing some really sketchy things. Here's some issues. do we need to investigate this? Right? That's a nuanced question that you can. Yeah, I think a reasonable person would say, well, given the information that we have, yeah, we should investigate them. That's a reasonable thing. But instead,
that's not what that's not what he posted.
Which is my point. We no longer have
inflammatory. It's right. Meant to be inflammatory.
It's meant to be inflammatory. And so the response is similarly, it's like, well, he's anti. It's like, well, hold on. He didn't say any of that. He said this. And so, of course, the response is just as inflammatory. We no longer live in that realm of nuance where a conversation can be had. It's just yelling.
The thing is this, though, Ray, and this is the everybody already knows that vaccines and anti-vaccination is a really hot issue. It doesn't matter what it is. It is a hot issue. It's going to set some people off on either side. It doesn't matter what it is because of all the controversy that surrounds it, because of all the misinformation that has been out there around it, and because of it, and the tumultuous events that occurred during that time. So it carries a lot of weight. If you are going to be so asinine as to put a statement out there like that is rooted in this hot debated thing, you're stepping in your own shit. You're stepping in shit, and you're doing it on purpose, and that's stupid. That was stupid.
But let him. I guess what I'm trying to say is let them do that.
No,
right?
He can do it. I'm not saying he shouldn't have done it. I'm not. Well, I mean, I think it's stupid. I don't think he should have done it.
Yeah, whether or not we would have chosen to do it is irrelevant. I'm just saying, he did it. I don't care.
But that's the point. You and I don't care because we believe what we believe, and we don't get caught up in all that bullshit.
Yeah. We have actual lives.
But we all know that bullshit exists, and we all know the futility in trying to get into an argument about that kind of bullshit, which is why we stay out of it. Well, he chose not to stay out of it. He chose to stick his foot in it, and I think sticking his foot in it is the dumb move. He can believe whatever he wants. Just stop posting it online. That's the point. Stop doing that. There's no point in doing it. All you're doing is creating. You're stirring the pot. You're stirring the pot. There's no other reason than stirring the pot, and it's stupid. I just think it's stupid.
Can I push back on again? I completely agree with y'all on this, but let me push back a little bit, because would you say the same thing if someone came out and said, and would it create the same controversies if someone else had come out and said, Pfizer's the greatest thing that has ever existed, and I take everything they've ever produced on a daily basis, and I have if that had been the response, it wouldn't have been as controversial, right?
I disagree. I disagree. I think
we literally have people dancing with syringes on I'm just saying it wouldn't have been that controversial.
It would be, because the same people who get angry about the ones who say that's why I said there's two sides to this. It would have been the other side who's pissed off. It doesn't matter who it is. It's just flipped. It's why this is why it's stupid.
It is stupid. Again, social, if tomorrow they shut down all social media, including the stuff that we're on,
I'm really well.
Yeah, I'd be okay, cool, great. This is a step forward for humanity, because clearly we are not ready for this technology. We're here on this show. It's evidence we're as a species, we're not ready for this technology.
The fact that people just get so upset about something that isn't directly, I say directly in their lives, a comment that somebody made that they'll never meet. They'll never meet this person. They'll never be influenced by them directly in any form or fashion. They're never going to be like, you stole my lunch money, you prick, I hate you. It's not, they're never going to meet each other for that. It's not on the playground. They're going to meet up after school. Nothing's that's going to happen. Well, but Ray, that's the point, is these boil down to these little schoolyard skirmishes where it's just y'all need to realize that people can talk, people can post things, people can say things, people should and can be allowed to do basically whatever they want, as long as it doesn't infringe on the civil liberties or rights of another human being, right? But people can't let that lie, because they go, well, someone has to hear my voice. No, they don't. They don't have to hear your voice. Shut the fuck up. No one cares about what you have to say. That's why we have no followers. It's the same thing. No one.
This one F word brought to you by Sean.
No one gives a shit about it. So So keep your opinions to yourself if you don't want them to be criticized. And if you do want to spout your opinion, be prepared for it to be criticized and either care about it or don't.
And here we go. If you have opinions on the show and you don't like them, just remember, we don't
We
care.
don't,
Yeah.
we
We're
don't like
not
our own
those
opi- We
people.
don't like our own opinions.
Yeah, we don't like our own opinions. Like
We
don't
argue
agree
with
on
each
things.
other. You think we're going to care about what you think?
Yeah.
If you want to
Anyway.
say something, go get your own podcast on StreamYard or wherever it is you stream and post
And
your shit out there.
Hopefully
Okay.
they
Maybe
do better
somebody
than
will
us.
listen to you.
Okay, seriously, the thing that pisses me off, again, not on this channel because we've never done anything worthwhile on this channel at all, but on other channels that I've done, you get these negative comments
other
from
channels
people.
that he's done.
Okay,
But
hold
with
on,
this
ego.
With this particular group of assholes, he's never
No.
done anything
Yeah.
he's proud of. But on the
No.
other ones, where
But on
he's
the other
done a
shows
lot,
that he's
he's done
proud of.
Yeah, on the other
certain
show with
things.
the other assholes, I've done some things I'm pretty proud of.
No,
No,
you really shouldn't be.
Anyway,
All right, go ahead, Jason.
yeah, it's like they're
It's a weird flex, Jason. That's all I'm going to say.
Wasn't even a flex. Hey, I've got other alcoholic friends. Y'all aren't the only ones. It's it is absolutely insane the things that people like chat is and comments section. That is where insanity lives. It just does. And you look at these things and the only thought you have is these people have jobs. They live in the world. And this is what they're doing with their time. Like, I will never understand someone taking as much time as these people have to have done to go through and leave some of these negative comments. I'm like, you instead of just moving on with your life, you're like, I'm going to sit here and type out this thing that nobody cares about at all. Like I said, if social media goes away tomorrow, I'm perfectly okay with it.
So, somebody wronged them at some point. They got cut off. They got cut off in their driving lane on the way home. The lady at this or person, sorry, the whatever the person at the window thing that them they whatever handed them a half calf foam latte whipped cream double shot espresso nut bag, whatever it was that they gave them. And they were like, I said no nuts.
So Starbucks.
I said no nuts. You know what I mean? And so they went home and they were like, the whole day they're like, no nuts. No nuts, just all day long. It's no nuts. And then when they get home, they see that one comment, and they're like,
on the range said this.
Pfizer is the worst thing ever. And you're like, whoa, dude, how did we get from nuts to vaccine? I don't understand how that happened, but calm down.
So you're saying that Zachary didn't have his coffee. Is that what you're saying?
Find a safer outlet for your rage, a healthier outlet for your rage. Get that out a different way. Stop posting things online because all it does is make you feel better when you've just shat on somebody's day. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, now I showed them, and they're like, no, you didn't. No one gives a shit. No, it still gives a shit about you, and you're gonna get a nut bag in your coffee tomorrow too. So switch off.
Speaking of crazy nuts, so James Gunn.
So James Gunn? Yeah.
James Gunn. All right.
Okay, so we now have our first 10 movies for the DCU.
And shows.
And well, it's the DCU. It's all connected, remember? It's all connected. So this is just under the umbrella of the DCU. So
right,
much so
you said
that
movies, and it's movies and shows.
It's movies and shows, but again, if it's an actor on the show, it is the actor in the movie.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the first thing that one of the first few things that James Gunn says.
You mean if it's an actor in the animated show, it will
or the TV show
or the TV show, right? It will be the same actor in the movie. I see,
including video games.
Including video
games. Yes, the same actor on that movie. If they do a video game on it, that's going to be the same voice that you're going to hear. Mm-hmm. Which of course that did tick off a couple of just a couple of little other companies that are currently doing video games, like the Suicide Squad getting ready to come out.
Yeah.
On video, they were not happy about that, and they had of course, there's voice actors do have a place that they can.
Not in James Gunn's world.
Not James Gunn's world, but they do have a place, and so I kind of understood the frustration of like, hey, can we not have to worry about doing that because there is a point where scheduling.
Yeah.
Right. Especially if you're a bigger name actor, do they make that transition? But besides that point, we did get some movies coming out. So we do have Superman Legacy, which younger Superman kind of trying to, how did they put it in the statement? he's trying to find his place between his Kryptonian heritage and his Earthbound heritage.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like that's kind of the same thing.
Like every other Superman movie we've seen?
Like pretty much, right? What's different about that? I mean, if you hear that comment where he's trying to go between back and forth and trying to find his place, isn't that every super? I mean, didn't Snyder just do that with Man of Steel?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, to your point, yes. This is every Superman movie that we've ever had so far, live action film anyway, with the exception of maybe this Quest for Peace.
Which, God, no. You then have The Brave and the Bold, which will be a new Batman and Robin, Damian, to be more specific, which is his blood son, and depending on how they play it, could be one of 3 different versions of how that son came to be. But in every version, it's always his son and Talia's. So that's a whole nother thing, right? Like, how's that going to play? And they say they're going to play into the assassin part of his son a little bit more. How does that look? Isn't that what we just got tired of seeing from Snyder and everybody else who was currently doing Batman? Is they want to see a less violent Batman? So now we introduce this by having a more violent son. Like, I don't know. It just seems like some of the stuff that Gunn said is some of the stuff they were trying to steer away from the last regime, as Gunn so eloquently put it this past week. There was no one in charge. There was definitely no left hand talking to the right hand, which we can all tell. He said the whole Henry Cavill debacle thing was complete. He said, that DC had really effed around Cavill on that, because he, at no time when they talked to him, he had said, we're continuing a different way. This is my pitch for how we're going to do Superman. It's my pitch for how we're going to do this. And at no time was Cavill ever in consideration for it. So he said that DC dropped the ball on that.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like that is pretty par for course when we're starting to talk about some of the movies that were being done, how they weren't quite connective. But at the same time, again, you could still see an outline for Snyder's plan, right or wrong, right? So, I mean, Gunn's kind of shooting at the priors there, trying to let them know that, hey, this is all their fault. Don't blame us. We're trying to actually fix this. So how much of that is him trying to get rid of that stigma that came before, while still looking like he's going to play some of the same songs that were played this last time?
At this point, I would just like to actually see these things happen and then judge them on their merit. I mean, not to be
we're going to go out there. We're going to play 100%, coach. We're going to, look, it's all about team prep and preparation.
You got to give 110%.
110%. Yeah. We're not doing that on the show, Jason. Give an opinion.
Well, no. Well, hold on. Here's why. Because honestly,
Sean's laughing right now.
Well, yeah. Well, hold on. I would argue what you just said, the 110% coach, that's all Gunn's doing. He's prepping for everything. Okay, he's sort of like the Authority. I don't know if that really needs to be a movie. It's again, I like the Authority. I love I would be happier to know it if we got a planetary trilogy, but I know we're not ever going to get that, right? Like, Planetary is one of my favorite comics of all time. Like, it's just one of the most well thought out comics, and it's just brilliant the way it was done. But I don't think we'll ever get it. That having been said, it's like, okay. I mean, I see. It's like you've thrown down some cards. There's some interesting things on it. To your point, it looks like we're going to get some of the things we've already seen. Some of the things I kind of want to see what he does. He's done well on, he gave us a Suicide Squad that was pretty cool, right? He gave us Guardians of the Galaxy that's pretty good.
Peacemaker TV show, which was pretty good.
So it's like, okay, you've got some room to maneuver here, and let's see what happens.
A talented director, and there's no question he's a talented writer as well, because he's helped write these as much as he has directed these things and coached these actors. And I even think he's had a heavy hand in the casting choices on a lot of these, because he has. as a director, he has a vision. He's very Quentin Tarantino about things.
Yes.
He has a whole vision on what it is he's going to put forward, and I think he does a good job of presenting that. In response to your question about whether or not he's, I don't know. I can't remember exactly what you said as much of it like being a right move or the wrong move for him saying what he's saying or doing what he's doing. I would say that in our combined job experience, we have all three of us inherited a mess that we have then had to clean up and or fix the problems or set the ship aright so that it was going in the right direction and the people were happy at the end of the line. Every time you do that, you have to start eating shit from the prior franchise that you're the prior people who were in charge of it. So, him coming in and saying, look, this was their fault. This is what they did. Don't give me guff for starting to do what I'm going to do because I have a vision and I'm going to do it. That's what you do. That's what you do.
Time out real quick to that point. And we've all seen it. All three of us have seen it. How many times do we hear about the new buyers coming in or the new CEO coming in, and the first thing that they're going to do is blame it all on the ones that came.
They're going to blame it on
you.
That's what they do because they look at it and they go, it's all their fault. Now, whether or not those choices were made by that person because of that's the way they wanted to go, or because that was the only way they could go at that time, that's the piece that gets left out of the consideration. I think in that blame,
that's fair.
Because you don't know what those people were facing at that time and in that place when they were in it and they were trying to get through it. You have a different set of tools. You have a different set of thoughts. You've got this new stuff. You could change the course because you're jumping in and doing this. So, I have high hopes, I think, like Jason does, for Gunn and the DCU. I think that this is, despite me having high hopes, I think this is a misguided effort. I do think that there is a problem with giving it so much continuity. Listen, the fans from Marvel, we've talked about it before. There is legitimate franchise burnout in the idea that I have to have everything cohesive and everything has to be together. And what we're seeing now is the amount of devotion to comic book continuity being placed upon a massive audience in movie viewership. It's one thing for comic book fans or people who like a certain franchise within comic books to want all of these crossovers and follow all these things and get all these bits and enjoy all of this very, very detailed interconnectivity. But when you get into a movie situation, when you get into a much broader audience, the full-on interconnectivity is a weight that the audience has to deal with because they're not as devoted to things like that. Now, the comic book fans who are getting to see this in movies are going to be thrilled. I think they're going to be ecstatic. But again, I think this is a very niche. It's not just that I think it is. Jeremy would side with me on this because he's always said even comic book fans have like a 6-year shelf life before they're no longer a fan. Yep. It's the same sort of situation. This is a very, very niche set of enjoyments here that people want to see. And I think that going this hard, going this heavy into interconnectivity is going to bite them in the end. I think this isn't going to be as good as it should be.
Well, but to that though, he's already said there's going to be, okay. So movies that are not going to be touched, franchises are not going to be touched.
No, I saw that. I saw that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the list that we listed out. The list we all saw, if any of us saw it, which I know we three did, but I'm sure any of the people who might watch this show have probably seen it as well because this is a very niche show as well. It's a very specific list of things, and they said all these things are going to be connected, no ifs, ands, or buts. It's like, well, great, you've set up this. The thing is, though, it's the first phase. You've set this up. There's a long list. How many were there? 12?
Yeah, 10? Something like that.
I think it's 10, but that includes the show. So we got Superman Legacy.
It's the show. Yeah.
Batman the Brave and the Bold, Swamp Thing, The Authority, Supergirl movie or show. I don't think they really.
I think they said animated, whatever it was.
No, that's another one. That's Creature Commandos is going to be animated.
Oh,
okay.
a Lanterns show, which is
Yeah.
supposed to be played out like True Detective.
Which I
on
love that
HBO.
idea.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah, I
that
think
idea.
that's fantastic.
That's it. But that's I love that idea because I love the premise. I love the
Yeah.
idea that it's played out
Yep.
in a film noir genre. That's genre. That's what
Yeah.
I like about it. So
You have Waller, and
Waller,
you have
yep.
Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
The other show that's there that I'm excited for, but I'm already irritated with the potential casting of it, is Booster Gold. And everyone is saying, "Oh my God, if there was ever a character that somebody
They're
was
like,
right for,
please don't do
give it to
Chris
Pratt." I'm like,
but everybody's still saying,
No.
I don't
Like-
give it to Pratt. Give it to a different person.
give it to somebody new. Give it to somebody new.
Give it
I
to
don't want to
somebody new.
see. Yeah.
I don't want to see Pratt again. Give it to somebody new. I think
And I
Pratt
agree.
has made his mark. I really do. He's made
10
his
years
mark.
ago, Pratt and Booster Gold, I would have been like
Would have been perfect.
100.
Yeah.
Now it's
Would've
like
been
no,
perfect.
just
Yeah, he's
somebody
established enough. Go for somebody else. I don't want to see the
he's
same
he's
12
already in there.
actors.
Yeah,
But
he's good.
but so with that being said, though, this is where I'm saying this is, you know, when you're backing yourself into a corner because he
Mhm.
said that he wants us to be continuous. He wants everything to go and wants everything to work. So even the video games, all that BS. You've just said this is phase one, which means you're planning on more phases, which means you're planning on taking the same thing that Marvel did and redoing it again.
Yep.
Once again, for God's sakes, give us something new. Stop doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Well, and yeah, we've had this conversation on this show for years. I have literally been saying this for a long time. Warner Brothers never needed to try and, since Marvel was doing what they were doing, DC never needed
They didn't need to do it.
to copy that. They already had things established. Just make Superman movies, make Batman movies, and make a Justice League movie. They don't have to be the same actors. They don't have to. It doesn't have to connect. You can just tell your story. Just make a damn good movie, and people aren't going to care. We've had how many James Bonds over the last 50 years?
Yeah. There was a oh, wow.
That wasn't me. That was him.
That wasn't. No, I saw that. I noticed that.
Yeah.
All right. So there was a comment, or not a comment, but when James Gunn was explaining this, when I was reading the text of him explaining this to the interviewer, he mentioned the fact that the DCU was a mess. Ray spoke the same thing a little earlier too. He was like, this was a mess. I came in, it was a mess. There was no continuity. Left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. Da 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 da. That could be interpreted by somebody as a mess, or it could be interpreted by somebody as like, look, we didn't want to go that route. We wanted these to be independent films. We wanted these to be separate from one another. So the DCU may have been saying, no, we want separate movies. We don't want to do what Marvel's doing. And maybe that's what they had planned. Maybe that's what they didn't want to do. And now that James Gunn is coming in and taking over that, saying that it was a mess and this is what we're going to do, it's like, yeah, but you're just doing what Marvel already did. And that worked great for the full Endgame saga. Like that whole, again, the reason that you can't recapture that magic is because it was such an amazing thing. It had never been done. Well, now it's been done. So we've seen it before. So that magic is gone. It's not the same magic. It's still there, but it's not the same magic that it was.
Even for Marvel now.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Even
exactly. Even for Marvel now, it's still not as magical as it was because it's already been done and you've connected your feelings to that. Your feelings are for that. They're not going to be automatically transferred to somebody.
Bullet time. So, it's bullet time.
So
bullet time in the Matrix was the greatest thing ever. They came back into the second, and they're like, the bullet time thing isn't gonna wow anybody anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. It's not going to be the most amazing thing ever because you got to change. Yeah, it's the sequel problem. You got to make it bigger, better, faster, stronger. Blah blah blah. Yeah. I disagree with the fact that Gunn said that it was a complete and total mess because he was like, we want to, they didn't know what they were doing. You got all these. He called the films outliers. He's like people. What did he say? He said something to the effect of, people are seeing all these different Batmans and they're confused. And I'm like, how stupid do you think these people are? Like, I'm watching these Batmans. I know they're different. They're different people.
And it's not like
but how do you justify a Batman in this movie and then a Batman in that movie? It's like, because it's a different movie. Like,
which is hysterical because he's going to allow the Batman to have its own universe.
Because you can't fight against something that was that good.
Yep.
You can't.
Same thing with the Joker. Like he's allowing.
He's doing the same thing with the Joker.
Yeah.
Because they were hits. So because Warner Brothers was like, listen, James, you can't you can't change our opinion on these films. These were amazing films, and we're going to keep going. He's like, well, yeah, you're right. Those are amazing films. But what I want to do is I want to get rid of all these other things, and I want to make Marvel 2.0 here at Warner Brothers with DC. And it's just like, dude, do something new, do something original. I'm really glad that you got a job directing these things and that you're the head over this, and I'm happy for you. But it's the same playbook out of somebody else. You took someone else's playbook and you're going to make it over here. I don't think it's the best idea. I really think they should have gone with different stories, different Batmans, and he's like, well, we have to qualify it. It has to be considered Elseworlds. Fine. Then call everything an Elseworld and just make whatever you want to make. But stop making me watch 18 things just so I can understand what someone had for breakfast. I don't give a shit. I'm burnt out on all these movies. I'm tired of it. I want different stories.
And it's like, you could just do say, okay, look, you've got Justice League. That's its own universe. You've got, I'm not saying the one from Sun, I'm just saying you could do them, to our point. Like, again, it's like Justice League, whatever, and you just have whatever characters. And it's like, if it has that word Justice League, the name title Justice League.
And that's the Justice League franchise.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Again, like James Bond, how many Bonds have we had? No one has ever needed an explanation as to why we kept switching up Bonds. It's like, we just get it. Okay, it's the same character, it's a different actor. We're not stupid. And just say, look, here's the Batman stuff. Here's the Superman stuff. Here's whatever. Yeah. But it's like, as long use the title and just say, look, these are going to be in each other's worlds. So if we're going to do a Justice League, the Batman that's showing up there is not the same one who's going to be showing up in the Batman. Completely different person, and just do different costume and different tone. People will pick up on this, and just tell them it's not the same guy. That's the point.
Or stop worrying about crossovers altogether and just tell a story about a certain character and their certain villain, and do that movie.
If you want 3 movies, fantastic. If it can be told in one, even better.
If it can be,
everything's a trilogy now.
How nice would it be to be able to just get one film and go, oh man, that was a great movie. Contained one thing that was exciting. I can watch that one thing and I'm satisfied at the end of it. This was great, and be done.
Dude,
and not have to go, now I got to watch the second one and then I got to get to the third one. Like,
that's why I loved Pig. That's why I loved Pig. I really liked
which I think is on Amazon
Shotgun Wedding. It is.
Or is it on Prime or is it on HBO Max? Anyways, I saw it and I was like, oh, I need to put that on my. I need to put that on my.
Shotgun Wedding. Jennifer Lopez, right? She doing a movie where she plays a bride. How odd for her character.
It is. 55 and still hot. Like, she could have played. If you'd told me she was in her 30s, I'd have bought it in this movie. But anyway, my point is, it's a standalone film.
Amazing.
Sorry,
done.
I'm not a J-Lo fan for the exception of one movie, and that was Out of Sight.
Out of Sight is an amazing movie. That's also because of the soundtrack.
Yeah,
the guy who I forget the guy. Oh man, he's a good like musician producer. I forget his name, but he put together that soundtrack, and
it's fantastic.
It is an amazing soundtrack.
Yes.
If you never watch the movie, just get the soundtrack.
It is a great soundtrack.
He splices clips of the movie into the soundtrack, and even if you've never seen it. It's like watching the movie. It's really good. It's a good movie.
But to Ray's point, I'm not a Jennifer Lopez fan either. But this is just it's an action romantic comedy. That's all it is. You're over and done with. Pig was a really great movie, and it's just a one-shot thing. I like it's like, hey, we're done with the film. Boom, we put down the book. We can move on with our lives.
So
I like.
Sorry, got an interesting thing here. The Out of Sight was is
Out of Sight.
Specific author. It's based off a book. It's the same author who wrote the book Justified, which became the Timothy Oliphant series Justified. It's the same author who wrote Jackie Brown that Quentin Tarantino redid and did Jackie Brown. Yeah, I forget the name of this author, but he's really, really he tells these really good stories, and a lot of his books have been like Get Shorty. He's the same author who wrote Get Shorty that was then turned into the movie, all that stuff. Wow. Anyways, I need to go look him up because I keep forgetting to go pull his books and read them. But he's responsible for a lot of really popular movies that, because his book was turned into an amazing film. So anyways, just random thing there.
Detail.
So,
but yeah, standalone movies. Love them.
All right. So anyway, who knows what we expect out of the new DCU.
I expect it's going to be a chore. That's what I expect.
Yeah, if everything's connected the way it's supposed to be.
I'm tired of being. I want to just watch what I want to watch and stop having to do all these other things. I get, and that's not me saying that it should be stopped or shut down or we should not make these movies anymore. That is not my point. I'm happy to keep seeing comic book superhero movies, but for God's sakes, just stop making them all interconnected where I have to watch another one to see what the next one's going to be. You're making me go. Well, actually, you're not making me do anything. I've kind of stopped really worrying about it. But yeah, it's not the comic book scene as far as paperbacks. It's not going to the comic book shop and making sure you're there for the next issue to stay in line with what's going on. It's a movie.
It's getting that one trade and having a beginning, middle, and end, and being done with the story.
Exactly, and that's what movies are supposed to be. And so I wish they would go back to that route. I don't mind having a sequel. I don't mind having a third one, but it doesn't have to be like, okay, but in between the first and the second, you've got to watch these other two that are from these other franchises so you can understand what's going to happen in the third one. It was fun for a while. I'm bored of it now.
Hey, Sean.
Yes, sir.
Elmore Leonard. Thank Jackie
you.
Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Get Shorty. Out of Sight. Justified. And there's some more here that I'm missing. But yeah, a lot.
Elmore Leonard. Stuff. Yeah, and it's he writes. They're like little paperbacks. It would be like an airplane. It's like an airplane read. Yep. It's like a 2-hour read. He's really easy to read his stuff, and those things get turned into these amazing crime films. He's a great crime writer. Is basically what it boils
down. What's easy to watch because it's so good? The Last of Us.
Ah, yes, the gritty Super Mario Brothers reboot. I love it.
Oh, that joke didn't work the first time I heard it, Jason. It's not working now. Wow.
Yeah, it works.
The show.
It doesn't work. I don't even understand the joke. What are you talking about?
It's because he thinks it's a video game. He can connect Mario Brothers to.
No, it's because they live in a fungus world.
It's. Anyway, Jason's mic is off, so we're okay.
So Jason, gonna have to say what I said earlier. It's real effing thin, dude. Real effing thin on that joke. It's you gotta.
We're used to it. Look, guys, The Last of Us. I don't even want to compare it to the video game.
As we're learning, you shouldn't.
We're learning, you shouldn't. Wow, with this.
But that last episode really made some. That last episode really had some lovers and detractors on either side. So that divided,
you know what,
folks, man. That's like a Pfizer vaccine.
Let me take it this way with
the audience.
I don't care how it's split the audience, but anyone on either side has to admit that story works.
Well, okay, yes, yeah. Well, let's just jump to the third one because I'm going to say, listen, I don't care whether or not that's directly pulled from the game. I know it's not. I know that they said this was completely changed, and they're like, "What the hell did you guys do to our beautiful video game?" I don't care about your Batman. It's not your Batman. Let me just talk about the fact that these two actors, and I know both their names, but they're totally escaping me right now. Yeah. They did such an amazing job. I mean, and I'm just listen. I'm saying it was a phenomenal job. The fact that we have this story, episode 1 is building, episode 2 is continuing, episode 3. Like, just not even moving the story along whatsoever. Completely contained episode about these two people growing, experiencing their lives together in a post-apocalyptic world, finding love and a relationship, something they never thought for one of them would ever happen for him. I loved the juxtaposition of the doomsday prepping war veteran gun nut and this traveling free spirit artist soul situation.
I love how he says it. He goes, "You're a prepper?" No, I'm a survivalist.
I'm a survivalist.
Yeah, survivalist.
The opposites attract thing was full on in effect here. The fact that these guys made you. They made me feel something. Like I was watching this and I could feel. They made you feel what they were going through. And they made that experience for each other real. Like you're watching this and you're like, I don't care if it's two men or two women or a man and a woman and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The love was there. And the fact that they made that love real was so, I mean, it was so amazing. It itself was in juxtaposition to the first two episodes, which are like full on bleak. And then you get this and you're like, what am I watching? It was just, it was amazing. It was really amazing.
But it was organic and I love that Jason said it earlier in the week. It's organic to the story as well. So we say that it takes it out of the story because it is talking about things that have nothing to do with our main characters.
With the main storyline.
Yeah, they do involve them.
I'm going to disagree, but let's come back to that. Continue.
I know what you mean, and I understand why you would disagree with what I'm saying. I just mean by the fact the main storyline. It does because they're involved in it. But the story itself is about these two people and not necessarily about a full overarching storyline. So that's why it's different. This is the Monster of the Week episode in an X-Files season.
Yeah.
Even though there's no real there are monsters, but they're humans, which is ironic.
But I think we can all agree it's probably some of the best writing in a show that I've seen in just a long, long time. It really was. And again, I don't care what side of the fence you come down on this. It doesn't. I don't care.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
the writing
acting was amazing. The writing
that went into it. The acting. Yeah,
Linda Ronstadt's song was like
which shot up 2,490%.
Of course it did. Of course it did. It's the same exact thing to Running Up That Hill from Stranger Things. Every time somebody and Susie and the Banshees off of Wednesday. Anytime some amazing iconic, they pull and like James Gunn with the Guardians of the Galaxy films
soundtracks. Yeah.
When you put something, you make that deep pull and you're like, this thing touches that heartstring from your childhood, from your adolescence, and it's that song, it's that sound, it's that feeling. It's gonna blow up again.
Yeah. It's not even our generation though. It's this new generation.
I said our. I meant ours and anyone's. But yes, you're right. The love of the song is what's tied to the love in these scenes, and not just the Linda Ronstadt. I also mean these pulls of these songs.
Yeah.
Guardians 1 was the greatest example of pulling this love and these feelings of these songs and putting them into the specific scenes. And you're right. When people who aren't even of that generation experience that music tied together with the feeling that they're getting in that scene, it's like the director putting that person into their psyche for that moment they experienced that song, in the moment they were that adolescent teenager or whatever. And you feel it. And so you make that connection despite your age, and you go, I need to hear that again because they just made me feel what they were feeling when they heard this for the first time.
I think it's one of their steps, though. Yeah, no, well, I think it's one extra step. It's not just that it takes you back to that point. It is these songs are powerful in and of themselves, which is why they're being used. And for a lot of these younger kids, they've never heard of Linda Ronstadt or Susan the Banshees or any of these people. They've never heard. Again, Guardians of the Galaxy, that soundtrack was probably completely new to a lot of these people.
Oh, it was. To a lot of people.
I mean, they're like, we've never heard anything like this before.
Listen,
so
I'd never ever heard Redbone before. I mean, like, I had never heard that I was like, what is this? And how did I?
Yeah. And you never heard? Seriously?
I was like, how did I miss this song?
You of all people, man.
I know.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Like,
wow. Okay.
Because it was. I mean, hey, 97.1 or 92.5. They didn't even play it on 92.5.
Yeah.
They didn't play
you're
it
right.
on the radio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And my mom was not. She was a fan of some very specific music genres. Like she loved the Beatles, but it was like it wasn't genres as much as it was very specific artists. Yeah. And so, growing up, it wasn't like I got to hear everything from the 70s. I heard a lot of 50s stuff on my father and mom's side, and then a lot of the Beatles from the 60s and stuff, that kind of thing. But I'd never heard of Redbone before, and I was like, who are? And then I was just like, this song is amazing. So that was a brand new for me. I mean, that's the beauty, is bringing up these one-hit wonders. Not that Linda Ronstadt's was a one-hit wonder. I'm not equating
you're saying, though.
Yeah. But bringing those one-hit wonders back, because you don't always play the one-hit wonders on regular rotation anymore. So
it was like Cherry Bomb that didn't used to get a lot of play until Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I would argue that one, Jason.
I remember that when I was younger, and I do remember that, and I'd listen to it on the radio. But you're right. It was more of a one-hit wonder. It didn't get as much play as it used to.
And I'm saying before, you turn on 92.5 or 90. You didn't hear. I've never heard
Cherry. Love your oldies.
Yeah,
Sorry.
don't. Yeah,
I mean, but even like with Cherry Bomb, that would pop occasionally on 97.1.
Yeah, but not as much as it does now. That's what I'm saying. Now it plays it's a lot more.
I guarantee you it doesn't play at all on 97.1 because they're a sports talk station now, Jason.
No,
I know, but what I'm saying is
that's not what you meant.
Yeah.
In general, it does. You're right, Jason. Because of the popularity, it is getting definitely more.
Because these younger generations are being introduced in these ways. But again, these are the kinds of songs that last.
Get off my lawn!
Get off my lawn!
Look, all I know is that The Last of Us so far. Okay, a couple things that I like about it. One, they tell you pretty up front. This is what caused it. This is what's going on. This is how and why it's happening. Again,
and you can guess it from the beginning. Like from that first episode, you could have guessed if you were paying attention. Do we want to do we want to just say spoilers from here on out, or? So because I think the interesting conversation to be had there. So
yeah, I do say. Let me say this. Okay, if you're watching us right now, we're about to talk about some key details of this show. Not to mention, you can find all this crap online, and I gotta say, I don't get to watch the show on Sunday night because it's really hard to watch it from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. and then try to have a palate cleanser afterwards so that you can go to bed without worrying about all the shit you just felt while you were watching this show. So we watch it on Mondays, and I have to say, Monday day, I don't get on Facebook anymore. I don't look at Instagram. I don't when I have to open a website, I kind of wait and I look away, and then I click the thing that I have to click to get to where I need to be so I can do my job. Yeah. Because I don't want to see any spoilers because people do spoilers all the time. So if you're at this point now and you've been watching the show or haven't, whatever, you're probably already spoiled by most of it. But that being said, spoilers. For The Last of Us.
Yeah. So I liked how they didn't tell you why the people who were initially affected because like they dropped the spore thing, right? Because that was one of my things. Like, hold on,
how is it spread across the world so quickly?
Right, because fungus spreads through spores, and so I'm like, why is it's affecting some people and yet
it's not like an M. Night Shyamalan movie where they all drift on the wind or something like that.
Exactly.
Dying that way.
So it's like, what's going on here? So
some Transformers over here.
Yeah, the Transformers. But I like the fact that
say hello to your mother for me.
Sorry, Jason, you were talking.
I'm sorry, Jason. Yeah,
Not anymore. No, I'm done. Now all I can see is Joel. Say hello to your mother for me.
It was spores.
Yeah, it's the spores. I like that you could have legitimately figured it out from what the information given to you in the first episode, but I like that they gave you the information in the second episode and then also reinforced it when he says the pancakes, right? It's like it's in the wheat, it's in the flour.
Actually, I think it was at the beginning of the third, which made that third episode so impactful because you went from one thing and then immediately went to something else.
Right. They're explaining it a lot more, but it's like you're like, oh, because they were telling you, it's like they didn't have the pancake mix to make pancakes. He didn't have the
biscuits,
the cake,
and he didn't have the biscuits. She didn't eat the cookies because he had raisins in them. Like,
it's like like they were really hammering home this idea. And again, Jakarta, most of us didn't know this. I didn't know this before this.
Neither did I.
But that Jakarta is one of the primary distribution hubs for flour in the world, and that flour goes everywhere. So it's like. There was this, it's like, oh, that actually makes perfect sense. Why it hits the entire world at the same time? Why it only hit certain people versus others?
So, which also made it even more difficult with his daughter,
right?
At the end of or the middle of episode 1, because she wasn't infected.
Right.
She was fine. She could have been with them the entire time.
Yeah,
right.
And that's not what happened. So
right, because it's like
also let me just say a random side effect. I just thought about this. This means that gluten intolerance is going to become widespread in most of the people who survive this thing, because it's all the people who couldn't eat the wheat. And so it's really odd that nowadays in this show, like, most of the people who are going to be alive are the ones that are just gluten free. It's like, I never thought, like, the nut allergy would be the reason you survived anything.
Yeah.
Most of the time it's like, that's the reason you die.
And that's the other thing
really
too.
strange.
It's the other thing too about this show, that I'm looking at stuff and I'm like, okay, that's actually plausible.
Yeah,
it was.
When they get to the third episode and he's like, don't look, let's go a different direction.
Right.
And he's explaining, she realizes at her age, like, oh my God, they weren't infected. And he's like, no. She goes, well, then why would you kill someone who's not infected? Because it's a possibility they could be infected, and eliminate that possibility. And for a quick second, you're like, not my government.
Which is my favorite line in the third episode. He goes, "You're one of those nuts who thinks the government's full of Nazis. The government is full of Nazis." Well, now.
Yeah, because they weren't then, they are now. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, and for some of us, it's like, you're just now catching on, aren't you? But yeah, I mean, it's like, I love that whenever, like, oh, the government never do that. They have, and they will. Like and yes, even yours. But yeah, I mean, back to the point, it's like, a lot of this does seem reasonable. Again, I'm sort of pissed off because I had a treatment years ago that I was working on. Ray remembers, actually, a couple different versions of cordyceps as the thing for the zombie plague, and then of course The Last of Us comes out, the video game, and I'm like, oh, damn it,
a buddy of mine, and I, my really, really good, best friend, no offense, Ray, was talking with him about this the other day, and he was so pissed off because he goes, dude, like Jason, he goes, I wrote this thing, and it was end of the world apocalypse zombie scenario, and he goes, I had freaking Pedro Pascal in my mind to play this damn character. He goes, he didn't care that the game was out there. He was like, yeah, sure, the video game, but it was a little different. And he goes, then of course the video game goes, they cast him in The Last of Us, and he was like, son of a bitch,
Yep.
So,
but yeah. Anyway, well, I like the fact that they get it is the writing on this, again, broader universe, works really, really well. They're not, no one's stupid in these in the show so far.
Yes,
everyone's making appropriate decisions, and the actions make perfect sense. You can understand everyone's sort of,
even the bad decisions you can understand.
Yeah, even the bad decisions make sense in the situation, right? No one's doing something where you're like, well, why didn't you do? Oh yeah, I could see why you would do that. Yeah, I love it.
It isn't. It's, you're gonna go through that door, even though you know what's on the other side, but it's because you have to.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with like, oh, let's go see what that noise was. It's this is the only way we can go. So it's either the really bad way or the even worse way. Which one do you want?
This brings up the debate, and I've seen this debate started on a few different websites where people are writing articles talking about the big question of, does The Last of Us prove that video games as a medium can become amazing stories, movies, tales, whatever, right?
The answer is yes, though, right?
No. And the reason I say no, and it is specifically because of the studio behind The Last of Us. The studio behind this video game is called Naughty Dog Studios.
Yeah.
Which has done a lot of games.
They've done a lot of games. They're the same studio behind the Uncharted series. And their whole approach to video games and your experience in the video game is, this is a movie. You're the character in a movie, and you're going to watch this thing play out like a movie. The way they designed the video game from the get-go is the fact that it's going to be cinematically breathtaking. And you're going to experience a movie you're going to be experiencing a movie character's, development in this whole arc. That the arc is the arc of a movie. So the fact that Naughty Dog is starting that way in a video game is why their games translate, except for Uncharted, because hooray!
I was like, really? Because I bet you Tom Holland has something.
Hooray for big producers! Hooray for franchises going, let's just get some big people in this movie, and that'll make it perfect. No, it won't. You're stupid, and rethink your things. You're fired. We hate you. So.
Yes.
The deal is they start from the idea that this is a movie. Because they start that way, these are easily translated into a movie experience, a film watching experience. And I say film, but you know what I mean. Like even in a TV series, in this episodic style. right? It's because that's the way it's designed from the get-go. You can't take Mortal Kombat and make it into anything else than Mortal Kombat as a movie. The latest Mortal Kombat, loved it. Had a great time watching it. It was fun. It's still freaking Mortal Kombat.
Still stupid.
It's still stupid.
It was stupid.
Still stupid, but it's stupid fun.
I did not like how they handled Goro.
Sonic the Hedgehog. It's not a great movie. It's not like it's going to win tons of awards, but I loved it because they played into what the game played into, and you enjoyed
the thing with that movie though is that no one should like Sonic, and it was a blast.
It's so much fun. It is so much fun.
It's just fun, and so I mean, the when people start raising this issue of the debate being can video game movies be good, and is the Last of Us the franchise that shows us that can be good? The answer is no, in my opinion, because this is a unique experience, because it's made by a unique studio that makes these games in the same way. They approach the development of a game in the same way you would approach the writing of a script. Yeah. So they've designed it that way. It's not the end all be it all. It's not a silver bullet. It doesn't just show you that it can be done, because you've got to start with a premise that is believable to be pulled into a movie franchise. And then you have to do it justice. You still have to do the work, and the people still have to do the work on this franchise as well.
Can I agree and disagree with you at the same time?
No, absolutely. You can only pick one or the other one.
Absolutely. Shut up, Ray. I want to hear what the gnome has to say.
Sean's wrong.
So
thank you, Ray.
To your point, I completely agree that this show does not prove one way or the other that I'm right there with you 100%, because you're right. They started with a great premise. They started with everything was sort of laid out for them.
The developers of the game,
made it easy. So this is an easily adaptable thing. But to your and especially to your point, this is where I'm going to hang my hat on, is the point that you made, which is, but you still have to do the work. The studio, the writers behind the show, you got to put that work into it. It isn't really handed to you on a silver platter. You've still got to adapt that in a way that works. And I think ultimately I completely agree with you, but I think the problem is you can make any video, well, probably not any video, but most video games into a good movie or television show. But again, it goes back to the people making the stuff have to do the work. And that's often the problem, because to your point, Uncharted, Naughty Dog gave them the same thing that they gave them with Last of Us, and that turned into a giant pile of crap.
They handed them the makings of the new age Indiana Jones.
Yes, exactly.
They handed it to them. Silver platter, gold pieces adorned.
Well, Sean, you're still going to get another Uncharted.
So again, So again, I agree, but I disagree. I don't necessarily think it's necessarily the product that's being started with. It is in the hands of the people making the shows or the movies.
It's both.
That's your problem.
I think it's both. I have to say, I mean, I agree with you in that way, but I think it's both. I think the formula is there, because you have to have both of those. You have to have both of those pieces to move this thing forward. You're right. Could you make could you make a movie out of a lot of games? Yes. Every game? No. A lot of games? Absolutely.
Tetris is not going to be a solid. It's not going to be a solid movie adaptation.
Well, you didn't like Battleship?
Hold on. As much as I hate Battleship, it is a lot more fun than it deserves to be.
I bet Battleship's a lot more fun than the latest Resident Evil series on Netflix.
Battleship's a little bit more fun than, let's say, any of the last 18 Fast and the Furious movies. It's about the same believability. Actually, it's probably a little bit more believable.
Yeah.
I think Fast and the Furious X Legacy or something is coming up now.
I don't even care. I didn't watch the last one.
I haven't watched a lot. I don't remember the last. I stopped watching before Dwayne Johnson joined. That's
I thought you were going to say before Paul Walker did it.
I saw the one after. I saw the one after he.
Saw the one after? Yeah.
Yeah, after his wraparound. Yeah.
Wow. Anyway, back to The Last of Us.
I gave you a dead stop, Sean.
I see we've Dale Earnhardt righted this episode to the ending. I'm enjoying it.
Conversation.
No, it's fine. I'm enjoying it. I like it smart. All right, everybody. We appreciate.
No. Hold on. Like, I think seriously, Jason, and it is very few games that translate, and then there's some games that translate the source material even better. Look at right now what they're doing with Spider-Man. I think that's some of the best storytelling that's gone on any of the Arkham Asylum series.
This Into the Spider-Verse was amazing, and coming up to the next one, I can't wait to see how that's going to play out.
So there is stuff that does get adapted well.
Ant-Man was a great adaptation from the comic books by going, you know what? Let's play the other Ant-Man character. Let's make this more modern and make it more believable. They did. They played with the material and made it believable. Right?
Can I get a Red Dead series? I don't want a movie. I want like an HBO series.
I would. You know what? It should be. I would love to see it. And honestly, Uncharted should be a series as well. It should be. If they gave Uncharted the same treatment that they're doing with Last of Us, I think it would have translated much better. So maybe that's the thing. If you take specific, no, actually, it's not the thing. There's no silver bullet. Some video games are going to be good as movies. Some video games are going to be even better as an episodic thing. You could take Metroid. Yeah, that would be a cool standalone movie.
I'm actually surprised no one's taken that.
Yeah, so am I.
Has anyone? Well, I'm not talking about anime or any type of animated feature. I mean,
there's some animated feature out there somewhere where there's a Metroid.
But I mean, live action. Yeah, I think that I'm right there with you. That'd be amazing.
I think you could easily do a live action Metroid in an Aliens sort of fashion, because that's what it is.
Or maybe stick to the anime.
I would I would honestly be just fine with an anime. I'd be. Please, I have no problem with that. But yeah, you could make almost anything. Listen, Super Mario Brothers in the 90s was a terrible film because it was terrible, but I enjoyed it at the age I enjoyed it at, because I was like, you know what? This was Super Mario Brothers. This is what I kind of wanted to see.
Because you were watching two drunk actors the entire time.
What a weird twist you guys have had on this this whole idea. And your Goombas are insane. But I mean, it was fun because it was fun, and that's what it was supposed to be, and you threw it away. If I watched it now, I'd be like, this is an awful film, and why did I ever like this at the time?
Hoskins and Leguizamo's take on it, when they were like, first off, the scripts are being written while we're doing it, so while we were waiting, we would just get drunk.
Just get drunk.
Just get drunk.
Yeah.
That's how they had to survive it.
But video game, that debate, that's does it prove it? No, this is not a silver bullet for it.
No.
It is an amazing series though. So far. I hope they continue. This was greenlit for a season 2?
I don't know.
I haven't heard. I mean, so here's my fear, and like I said, I do think this third episode does move a few things forward, particularly on the personal side for Joel. But honestly, I have this sneaking fear that
don't put it out there. Once it's out there, you jinx the entire doggone thing, man.
Okay. Yep, that's how it works. I have this. I have this little worry.
You have a fear, and you hope it doesn't come true.
And I hope it doesn't come true. That again, I would like for the rest of the writing to be solid. What we've seen so far, but we've seen this in shows where they have these really great episodes, and then it's like they forgot.
You don't talk about the no-hitter during the no-hitter.
So shut up, Jason. Let's say this. Even if this doesn't get, I don't know that it's going to get better. I really just hope it continues.
Right. I just want it to continue. That's all I'm saying.
I just want it to continue.
Yeah. However, I hope they haven't blown their wad on this episode.
The Ron Swanson Murray episode of episode 3, it just was amazing. Those two characters were amazing. Also, I love the fact that you're never going to, not that you're never going to see them again.
Yeah.
But they're gone.
Yeah.
They're only here for this one episode, and
in a really beautiful way. I love that. Again, I love how they're not stupid.
They're not stupid.
You put some in the bottle, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, enough to kill a horse.
Oh, he says a rhino. I think he says
a rhino.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Whatever he said, he's like, it doesn't matter. Enough to kill. He goes, "Is this enough to do it?" And he goes, "You put some in that too, did you?" Go say it. And what a great line! You were my purpose.
Yeah.
What a great line! Like in our day-to-day life, that's what we hope to find.
Yeah.
Just that. And then in this post-apocalyptic nightmare, they have this line of "You were my purpose." Like, come on, man. That
everything
was
around
just,
you and everything else, and that's cool.
that was just beautiful. And the scene sitting in the garden eating the strawberries together, like,
dude.
So the
congrats,
joy.
Congrats on him taking that first bite and like crying.
Yes.
Like
yes.
I was just like, oh wow, that's again just really well acted.
The one line I know we all laughed at is that scene where he looks and goes, "Yeah, I traded a gun for the seeds." He looks at me and goes, "It was a small one."
He goes, "What gun?" It was a small
which
one.
gun? Yeah.
We
all I know
like,
all three of us laughed at that.
I know. He's like, yeah, same. Because I was like, that made me. He's like, which gun? He goes, it was a small one. Don't worry, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I also like.
Speaking of, I just got my text from the crazy gun dealer. They have the ammo that I was looking for. So,
yeah,
hooray.
Thoughts and opinions.
Oh, please, we all agree on this.
But I will say that it was a good episode, and I also like the fact that even though he didn't like Joel,
yes,
he told him like, "This is who's going to take care of you." At one
from one protector to another.
Yeah.
Here's what you need to do, please. Thank you. Yeah. No, it was. Yeah, dude, that was just the.
It was excellent. It was excellently written. It really was. But like you said, I don't need it. Like, this can be the best episode of the series. I just don't want the writing to slack off from what we've seen the first two. That's my only thing.
Yeah, I'm happy. If this is my favorite episode, I'm happy. As long as the writing and the consistency of the acting doesn't fall away as this thing continues. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, very well put.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wrap it up.
All right, we're done.
Well, that was more abrupt.
Wrap it better.
So again, thank you for the people who've suffered through this episode. I have no idea why you would, but we love you. Yeah. And again, as we've all noted, we don't care about our own opinions. It is what it is. If you'd like to email us, I don't know why you ever would. It's vagabondnerds@gmail.com. Again, go say hi to Jeremy and buy something as a way of protesting the fact that he supports us. Because he is our favorite comic monger and purveyor of all things with geeky accoutrement. We will see you. I'd like to say we'd see you in 2 weeks, but we'll see you when we see you.
Hopefully it's in 2 weeks.
Your microphone.
One more time.
There you are.
There we go. It may be a little bit longer just because I want to see Ant-Man, and I think we should review Ant-Man.
Oh yeah.
So I agree. I want to see that too, and I want to review it. We'll see how long it takes.
Yep.
So, guys, be kind to each other. I know we say that, but actually do mean that. Like, help your brother. Exactly. Go out there and be peaceful. All right, I think that's it, guys. Let's wrap it.